Hello, everybody. I'm not sure what to call this video cast, but I'd like to welcome you back to the Freelance Teacher. Notice no shirt, no tie. I haven't shaved. I look like a total slob, so I apologize in advance for that. Normally, I'm in my car with a shirt and tie and my glasses, and I look like a presentable person. You can put in your own punchline after that one. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this book I'm reading. It's David McCullough's The Wright Brothers. And just out of the gate, I recommend it. I have about 30 pages to go, and it's eminently enjoyable. And like a lot of McCullough's books, and like many, if not all of the good history books, it is like being transported in time. It's like going back to that era and seeing what it was like and feeling what it was like, hearing the people talk and the way they spoke and the letters they wrote. And what's electric and fantastic about the Wright brothers book is that it's at such a vital stage of the United States. They started doing their explorations into flight in the very late 1800s, and then the major years were 1901, 1902, and then December of 1903, they actually, for the first time in human history, had a machine that could fly. And the way they did it is wonderful. They made their own engine. They had a friend come and help them cast an aluminum engine because they needed the lightest engine that they could come up with. And they built their own engine. So that was they figured out that the airfoils were wrong. Let me back up a little bit. The Wright brothers had the experts' opinions at their beck and call. They asked the Smithsonian for all the information on flight that the Smithsonian had. They tracked down paperwork and books from the American and European experts at the time, experts on aviation. And they built gliders using these parameters, but the gliders weren't working. The lift wasn't enough to carry anything. So they did something that people rarely do then or now, and they determined that the experts were wrong, that they weren't going to follow the advice of the experts anymore, and they were going to have to figure everything out themselves. And that's a quote I put on my wall in the classroom. We had to figure everything. Eventually, I think it's Orville Wright. We had to figure everything out on our own. And that's a difficult thing to do, and it's rare, and it's scary because the experts in theory are the people you're going to ask for advice. And a lot of times it works, and a lot of times those people are valuable, but no human had built a machine that could fly, and the experts were wrong when it came to airfoil. They also built their own engine, which who had built an airplane engine before? Nobody. So they had to find one that was the right weight, and they had a neighbor. And I want you to think about this. They cast their own aluminum engine in the back of their bicycle shop. These two middle-aged, kind of young guys who did not go to college. Think about that one for a little bit. And they did the math, and they built a wind tunnel, and they built an engine so the wind tunnel they could test airfoils. The engine could be light enough to put on the Wright Flyer when they were finally ready to test their actual airplane. And they had to test everything by themselves and do everything by themselves. And maybe I should title this video cast, Who Your Real Enemy Is, because so many young people don't understand who is blocking that kind of progress now. They really don't, because I joked with my class today. I have one class of older students, and I said, we should dig up the Wright brothers' bodies and put handcuffs on them, throw the bones in a box, and put the box in a jail cell. Now, that's hyperbole, right? And I'm doing that for effect, of course. But think about this. The Wright brothers were manufacturing an engine in the back of their bicycle shop. Think about what you'd have to do today to do that. Did they have a license to manufacture anything? They built a gasoline engine, no carburetor, gravity-fed tube from a gas tank on the upper wing, and it dripped gasoline into the top of the engine so the fuel and the air could mix and ignite and send the cylinder slamming down to turn the crank, to turn the chain that would turn the propeller. Now, I don't know what the gasoline handling rules are in your county, but I live in New York City. You're not going to have a gas engine in the back of your garage and build it and have gas lying around and have a machine shop to cast and make your motor and the parts. Oh, what about air quality? Gasoline is going to pump out exhaust. That engine, that motor is going to pump out smoke. So, and I sound like a curmudgeon, right? A cranky old man. Right, everything is better today and everything is fantastic. Well, I'll tell you what. The Wright brothers, if they were alive today, they maybe would be able to do what they did. But it would be slowed down so much. They need a license for handling fuel. They totally could not have a small manufacturing plant in the back of their shop. Maybe they could. They would have to get a license for it. They'd have to get permission from some intellectual ignoramus at the bureaucratic local town board who doesn't know anything about machinery. Oh, yeah, okay, here's your license. The licensing and the regulatory state, at best, would have slowed down the Wright brothers that they might have given up. They might have just said, forget it. But in America in those days, and you read the book, they were free to do what they wanted. They were free to create. You're not free to create anymore. Not in the United States. And you may find this disappointing, and you may think, I've lost it. That's true. You won't be the first one. But your real enemy is the government. And that sounds like a tired, floppy old saying, crazy old man, look at the teacher, he's lost it. Well, do one thing. Look and see what it takes to open up a daycare in New York City. Just do a little bit of research, find out. Or find out what it would take to operate one engine lathe to build a hammer. Let's say you wanted to build a ball-peen hammer. You need an engine lathe and some metal. Can you do that in your garage in your county? Maybe you can. I have a funny feeling that the local zoning board would have something to say to you for that. And the electrical load that it would take to run that thing. So your real enemy, I know what you're told. I know what you're taught. I've taught public school for 20 years. I know what you're taught. But I don't think the thing that they're telling you is blocking you and holding you back from living a free, fulfilled, full, complete life. I don't think they're telling you the right enemy. I think they're telling you some story about certain kinds of people or certain politicians. But just look out and try to do something free. Go into something where you want free enterprise, and you're going to get held back. Oh, and the last point. Maybe we should dig up those two Wright brothers. They flew, and they didn't have a pilot's license. Ooh, somebody's in trouble.